My iPad
Oh,
up
that's
to
invested.
6:59. That's great.
Is what character is Vino gonna be at? She's gonna call it?
Spina was on.
She is
No.
Right here.
for the executive session.
Oh, sure. I can just throw on speakerphone.
Oh.
All right, we'll get started. All right, good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock and I'd like to call together the January 11th, 2024 school committee meeting. If you would rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This evening, we have a consent agenda posted, which is the minutes from our December 14th, 2023 meeting, as well as the notes to bills payroll. The motion to accept.
Motion to accept minutes.
Motion made by Stacy, seconded
second.
by Elaine. Beanle is with us on Zoom. Beanle, hopefully you can hear us. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 For Beanle, we'll mark that unanimous. Thanks very much. This is our first opportunity for interested citizens. So if we have anybody in the room or on Zoom that would like to speak before the school committee, now's the first opportunity, another chance at the end of the meeting.
Do not have.
Perfect. We'll move on to a recognition portion of the evenings. We've got Jay Kang with us. Thank you very much. If you would give the student representative report.
So we're starting a new year, so there's not very much going on. For Shaker Lane, just the students have settled in well after the holiday break, and it's just been good for them to get back into the school routine. Shaker Lane is beginning winter benchmark assessments to determine student progress throughout the year. Our Russell Street students and staff had a great transition back to school after the new year. Teachers had math professional development last Friday throughout the day and had an opportunity to collaborate. Some members of the cast of The Little Mermaid were at the Russell Street School today to share some of the songs from the musical with the third graders. And there's only one announcement from the middle school, and that's LMS Drama, which will present The Little Mermaid next week at the high school. And please check the weekend update for dates and times. And there are lots of announcements for the high school. So last week, January 3rd, the Facing History class had a Holocaust survivor to come in and speak. January 9th through 10th, 32 students from the Decker Club attended a conference at UMass Lowell. And then next week, January 16th through 19th, is no name calling week, which is where we encourage students to not call each other's names, and there'll be a couple activities and announcements later in the week. And January 20th is the Seal of Literacy test. Also, NHS is having a bake sale at Donovan's from 2 to 5 p.m. And January 22nd to 26th is the Great Kindness Challenge and Advisory Board Decorating. That's all.
Thank you very much. Questions for Jay? Great, thank you. I'll turn over to Dr. Clenchey. Looks like we've got an announcement here about upcoming Connection Speaker Series event.
You bet. Thanks, Jake. Happy New Year, everybody. We do have an upcoming Connection Speaker Series event on January 16th in the Littleton Middle School cafeteria. The topic for the event is Universal Design for Learning within a multi-tiered system of support. Presenter that we've been using in our district for a couple of years now, Tara Trainer, will be presenting that evening. We did cancel a Connection series earlier on in the year, and we've rescheduled it to April 30th. And that particular evening, we're going to spend some time defining equity and cultural proficiency, and Dr. Warnham, who we've worked with for the past 3 years, will be presenting that evening. So excited about the two upcoming series. And as a reminder, this is the first year that we've converted from one evening to a number of different events for our community. So if you are free that evening, we'd love to have you come out. As we all know, and still some of us, I'm probably for sure when I say that, because I'm one of them, a little sore from the snowstorm that we had last weekend. I did the wrong thing and did not shovel everything out the first day. I waited for it to get a little heavier, and that was probably not the best thing to do, but everything's good. Nice to have our first snowstorm on a weekend, and it was able, we were able to have DPW and our custodial staff get back into the swing of things. It's incredible that the amount of snow that we had, that they had everything up and running to go Monday morning. They worked 24/7 to do this. So special thanks to DPW and to our custodial crew. Having said that, There are a lot of towns, including ours, that are having trouble hiring plow contractors. And this year we have 9. Last year we had 12. Previous to COVID, the normal number of contract drivers was 22. So people are working pretty hard to try to clean our roads and get our schools ready to go. What does that mean to us? It's going to take longer to clean up, and it's going to depend on when the storm ends. So if the storms are ending earlier in the evening, we'll be fine. But if they're not stopping till 3 or 4 in the morning, it's a minimum of 6 hours to clean up. So we could be faced with some delayed start times or some more snow days. So keeping our fingers crossed that Mother Nature does the right thing for us and has the snowstorm finished by midnight or 2 in the morning, we'll be fine. But we'll wait and see. And of course, for everybody listening, it doesn't matter how many people we have working if the machinery starts breaking down, and it's like anything else. The heavier the snow, the more the snow, the greater chance that the machinery may not last for the whole cleanup. Our sidewalk snow blowers broke down because of the amount of snow that they were cleaning. As a result, all the sidewalks weren't ready for Monday morning. So just wanted to make everybody aware of that. They're doing everything they can, and hopefully as the season goes on, they'll be able to hire some more contractors. And that's it for acknowledgements.
Looks like the next opportunity is a storm on Tuesday, which we would also have the speaker connection. So
Right.
how would we get that information out if we have school, but we have to cancel the evening portion of that?
We can do a number of things. We could do an email to all families, put it on our website. So we, put it on the middle school communication board. So we'll do what we can to get that out. Hopefully that's not going to happen. We'll wait and see.
All right. Any other recognition topics or cover everything?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Great, very much. All right, we'll move on to our new business portion of the evening. So we've got one topic here. It's the Financial Policies Working Group. School committee's been asked to appoint a member to join the Financial Policies Working Group. We talked about this last meeting a touch. So just to refresh everybody's memory, this is a group within the town, different folks from different boards that are looking to sort of reconvene or pick this work back up. I think the land purchase that failed last town meeting might have been sort of the event that spearheaded this to try to have better processes in place as we work through some different financial decisions in town. So I asked everyone to give it a thought over the last couple of weeks to see if anybody had any interest and if there's any discussion. We could have that now, or if someone would like to make a motion to appoint someone, that would be fine as well.
Well, I'd like to move that Justin McCarthy be the Financial Policies Working Group representative to the school committee.
Motion made by Elaine,
Second that.
seconded by Stacy. If there's no discussion, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 I will mark that unanimous as well.
Thank you, Justin.
You're welcome. Thank you. Got it? All right. Keep you guys posted on that. We'll move on to our presentation portion of the evening. We've got 4 presentations scheduled for tonight. The first is an esports presentation, which is pretty cool. So high school library media educator Paul Orzek will give a presentation on esports. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you for having us tonight. I'm Paul Orzik. I am the advisor / coach of the esports team at the high school, and I'm joined today by Dexter Corey, who is our president and team captain. So we go to the next slide. Just a little basic overview. Esports has been one of the fastest growing sports, not only in Massachusetts, but in the nation over the last few years. Just this year, the MSAA partnership with a platform, PlayBS, which we're a part of. Over these 2 years, there are now 45 high schools that are part of the program with over 1,200 players. Some of the bigger schools have as many as 27 players per school. We're not quite there, being a smaller school. And there's been a lot of studies over the last few years as well that have shown that students who are engaged in esports tend to have better attendance, grades, graduation rates, and there's other positive outcomes as well. Additionally, through PlayVS over the last few years, they've been offering scholarships. Obviously, you have to do really well to get to that point, or maybe get there someday, but it's nice to know that that's offered, not only through PlayVS, but also colleges in general are offering scholarships to be on their teams. So we're just going to briefly walk you through a timeline of esports at Littleton High School, starting with the 2020 school year. So we can go ahead to that next slide, please. So this is actually a slide that was pulled directly from a presentation I gave in 2019 regarding the Kimball Grant. This was my first year in the district. So I was new to meeting all the students, and one of the perks to joining this job as I was applying was told that there was a Kimball Grant in which there was a good amount of money that could be used for library innovation. So around this time, I met a student who was really into VR. He just couldn't speak positively enough about it and was really harping me to get one for the school, which sounded great. It sounded cool, but I said, how do we sell this? We have to actually have rationale for making a purchase like this. So what we did is we sat down, did a little research, did some deep diving, and we actually found that there were a lot of studies in colleges and high stress businesses and for counseling services that were using VR as a way to deal with student stress and just to help with overall wellness. So we looked specifically at 3 studies. We presented them to the school committee at that point. And we pretty much had backing for going ahead and start and getting an Oculus Rift. This sort of inadvertently planted the seed for esports and really got us growing over the next few years. Go ahead. So as you all know, in 2020, 2021 was, we were kind of in the hybrid year. Go ahead to that slide. So a lot of negatives obviously came. We had the VR, the Oculus Rift. Unfortunately, we were not able to use it because it was deemed too risky, students sharing the headset. But a positive that came out of this year is in the winter, we were able to come across a brand new platform called PlayVS, which was trying to organize high school esports competitions. So because we had students who really weren't that engaged, that were home a lot, through this other student who came up with the idea of the VR set, he said, let's try and see if we can get students involved with this. The game specifically was Rocket League, which was very popular because kids could play it on multiple platforms, be it Xbox, PlayStation, their computers, or Nintendo. So we were actually able to get 4 teams together, 4 teams of 3, and they competed in this PlayVS League, playing other teams up and down the East Coast, as north as Maine and as south as North Carolina. So it was interesting. Kids really started to enjoy it. It was their first way to really collaborate and work towards a positive goal, competing in an esports team. So that then took us on to our next year. And so this was 2021, 2022. As you can see right there, this is a student who had the idea of having the Oculus Rift. We were able to actually use it in school, and we were able to officially have an esports club. So in the beginning of the year, we would meet in the library every other week. Kids were able to come in, put on the VR headset. The student would lead how it works and instruct students and myself how to do this. And obviously during that time, it provided a lot of stress relief, and it was very popular among kids at the school. Additionally, during this time, PlayVS had a partnership with Nintendo. And because we started with them at the ground floor, we were actually able to apply for a grant through them and get a free Nintendo Switch and a free game as well. Also during this time, the Northeast division was made smaller to just New England as more schools became involved. And we had 2 seasons, both a fall and a winter spring. At this point, we also had Dexter join as a freshman. If you'd like to speak to your experience a little bit.
So as Mr. Warzek said, I joined the esports club when I was a freshman, and I got into it because one of my friends wanted to make a Super Smash Brothers team, and it just seemed like a lot of fun. It was another thing I could do, and we even learned about so much other stuff that was part of it that it led to us wanting to take it more seriously and have a lot of fun with it. The first year, it was kind of weird. We were just getting into it, but we still enjoyed it, and it brought me and two of my friends a lot closer, and it let me just hang out with them more, which I'd be very happy.
We also, this was the first year we had a wellness day at the high school, and the esports club was able to organize a tournament, which ended up being one of the more popular events on that day. We had over 40 students in the library competing in both Smash Brothers tournament and Mario Kart. We also, I think, had Mario Golf.
And a couple other games. There was two Mario Karts, Super Smash Brothers, and then someone brought in Mario Golf. So we had a bunch of people playing that too. It was just a lot of fun.
And at that point too, we were also told that there was some leftover money from the Kimball grant. So we were able to pay for Play VSS membership that year and the following year as well. That's been one of the obstacles is it a little bit expensive to join these leagues in the beginning. We also were able to purchase a new Switch and games that we hope to play in the future. And we got a first round of uniforms. Moving on to last year, we had more Play BS growth. Again, this was the first year that it was recognized by the MSAA, and they actually set up a specific Massachusetts league, which was pretty exciting for us. We had a pretty successful year.
Yeah, overall, we just did really well for the most part. We made it all the way to playoffs, which was like we were all really excited and super pumped. And even though we didn't win, it was still a lot of fun. And like we all enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think becoming recognized by the MSAA gave us a lot more pride, and the fact that we were able to advance to playoffs in our second season was pretty exciting. Also, because of this new league, there were playoffs that if you won in Massachusetts, you then play other states. And you even had the opportunity, if you were the best two states in the United States, they would fly you down to Austin for the final, and obviously there'd be a lot of scholarship money. We're quite a ways away from that, but it's nice that it's something that's offered. So going ahead, that takes us to this year and some of the plans that we have.
So this year I have taken over the leadership role from one of my friends who was originally the president and captain of the Smash Bros team. And we've done a lot this year. We had a big club fair in the high school, and we got to set up a table. People got to come, they got to play. We got to see what people were interested in. And we're hoping that we can get people to join and make more teams, whether it's Smash Bros, Mario Kart, or just whatever's offered on the website. And we played this year and we did pretty well. We didn't make the playoffs, but it still went fine. It let me learn a lot about some of the freshmen, and I got to meet new people. Got one of my other friends to join in, so got to learn a lot more about them, and it was pretty fun.
One of the major announcements that Play BS made just a few weeks ago is moving forward, it's going to be free, completely free for all high schools. So as a result, that's given us the opportunity to expand and become more inclusive. We're even hoping to put together a unified esports team in the spring. We'll also be having our first ever Mario Kart team and an NBA 2K24 team as well. So we have a lot of exciting things on the horizon. The only things that have proven a little bit difficult for us are the games are at 3:30 on Mondays or Wednesdays and Thursdays after school. So people who are involved in sports or some other activities can't get back to the school. Sometimes have difficulty joining the teams, but that's why we want to offer more during flex blocks and additional tournaments throughout the year.
Just being in the club.
Sorry, you can keep talking. Keep going.
I was just gonna add that just being in the club, you don't necessarily also have to be in a competitive thing. You can still join and just play for fun. You can play Mario Kart. We do just meetings in the mornings on Tuesdays, and people can come in, play if they wanted, and just get to learn a little bit more.
So overall, it's been a great experience, and we're looking forward to continuing to do more in the future. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions. Yeah.
Is the esports team limited only to the games that Play BS offers?
So this is a great question. We always have students wondering if there's a team for XYZ game. And of course, I always tend to gear towards the more violent games. They're a little bit difficult for us to get sanctions. So through the platform that actually organizes the leagues and coordinates with high schools, they only allow a certain number of games each year. So we are limited to, I think, 6 or 7 games a year.
So what are the best dates?
Oh, geez, we don't know about states. We're kind of focused on Massachusetts, but Shrewsbury has been a powerhouse. We need to work on unseating them a little bit.
I think it's so fantastic as a community builder too. You know, I think the athletic kids have so many opportunities to build friendships, you know, through athletics. And this is another way to build community. Dexter, you had mentioned that some of your friends have gotten closer through this club. So I see huge benefits there. I'm wondering how you overcome the challenge of just having one Oculus Rift. I'm sure they all want to use it at the same time.
Yeah, you know, we did have a lot of lines in the beginning. But as people became more familiar with it, we were able to speed it up a little bit, but we did actually have to have people reserve time slots in the beginning.
Is that like so much technology, it gets cheaper over time, or is that?
It's evolved quite a bit. The model we have is kind of at this point, but we're still able to use it. All the esports and technology in general evolves so quickly.
Yeah. They're lucky to have both of you. This is an amazing opportunity for us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you for joining us.
You bet.
Thank you.
Next up, we've got, second presentation, new school improvement plan update, standard 5 technology. We'll hear from the 4 principals. This is scheduled for roughly a 30-minute presentation in total. School-based administrators will discuss their school improvement plans that align with standard 5 of the district strategic plan. Looks like we have principal up first.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Thanks for having us again. We're always happy to be here. All right, school improvement technology. All right, so the first goal that we have, I was actually talking with Julie Lord about this. So our goal is to continue to develop cross-curricular projects and experiences. And this is probably the piece that I leave the most up to the teachers to kind of facilitate it and work with Heidi McGregor, to work with each other, to work cross-collaboratively. But I know that this is happening often. There are often projects displayed outside of our Magitorium, which is our makerspace. Media posts, Seesaw. So I know that that's happening. It's just the intricacies of planning of that I do leave up to the staff. The next part in goal number 1 in technology is for providing before and after school tech ed offerings, also during staff meetings and professional development days. Rachel Duarte is our technology leader in our building. And so far this year, we've had one before school offering, and that was the use of a Cricut. If you guys know what a Cricut is, to make things. So what she offered was to work with teachers to provide bulletin boards, projects, things for kids to use using the Cricut, because we have one at the school. And so she offered that. A lot of the professional development that she offers is kind of on the job during either during a staff meeting or a time that they have together. She's been really important in helping with the use of our new TouchView TV. She's given a lot of PD on that. So she's also been instrumental in Waggle, which is our math computer component to our Into Math program. She's provided PD on that, and Raz Kids. So you know, the before and after school trainings, I know when I started here in 2017, that there was a big push for that. I think it kind of fell off the wagon. People are just busy. So more of the trainings are, you know, during the day for that. And so that is that one. And I noticed that I left out, go back one. Yep. I left out indicators of success. And I think it's just the use of what teachers are using, you know, the projects that they're doing with the kids for the Cricut. The TouchView TVs are used consistently every day multiple times throughout the day. We use them in PD ourselves. The kids are using them. So that I actually was remiss in adding up there. Number 3 is the implementation of our Destiny online library system. This has been in the works for some time. And I keep talking to Chris Hebano, our library tutor. I'm like, where are we at, Chris? Where are we at? And she said, Michelle, I cannot catalog, 30,000 books. There are books that have been in this building since the building was built. So she spent most of last year weeding out, I think she said close to like 7,000 books that just kids were not putting their hands on. So this year we have a parent volunteer that comes in weekly that is now barcoding all of the books for the kids because they're still using that old checkout system with the card catalog, sign your name, get the card comes back, put it in. We have a parent volunteer that comes in each week. Chris comes in on our half day Wednesdays to catalog books. And one of our school advisory council members, one of our community members, Sheila Haywood, she is also volunteering to come in and start barcoding some of the books for our library. So we're hoping that this will be up and running next year. I'm glad that this is in the 3-year plan because if not next year, the year after. On the next slide, we have, again, I do leave this up to Heidi McGregor. She is instrumental in enhancing our makerspace. I know our Ozbots are on their way out and she had written a grant and has some new little robots coming in for the kids. So she's excited about that. She writes grants. She is instrumental in using our makerspace with the kids for the 2nd grade community day, the cardboard community day some of you guys came to. And that a lot of those materials come out of the makerspace or have been things that have been in there. I touched on the TouchView TVs. Thank you to Beth and Lynn for helping get these TVs into all of our classrooms. Seeing our preschool PACE students who are a separate classroom come up and manipulate a TV to play the weather song, to go through things. It is amazing to see our neediest children, our nonverbal students come up and manipulate that TV. It's amazing. So it's been impactful on all the classrooms, not just our grade level classrooms, but our separate classrooms as well. And the last one, the iPads, I believe we are in our 1st year for one-to-one implementation for the kindergarten iPads. And the biggest push for this was to allow the teachers to work with the kids at one time, our 5-year-olds, one time to teach them how to get on to Waggle, how to log in. And then once they've gotten that down, then they can break up into small groups. So you might not think that we need one-to-ones and they're not using them all day long, but it's hard to teach one small group and then let them go off and they have questions. So when the teaching assistant and the teacher can teach all of the kids on how to get into the application, sign in, and figure out how to use it as a class, then we can break them down. And then they have designated iPads when they have their tech time. I think that's it from me. Any questions?
I just have a quick question about what a TouchView TV is. Is that like a smart board?
It is, and I might even ask Julie to answer this. I don't know what a smart board is. Isn't that board? Where this is this is a TV. So what the teachers do is they can project their image on their computer, just kind of like what do you call it? Like a dock camera, except you can put your TV, you can put your computer screen on there, and the kids can come up, grab a pen, color it, circle it,
So like a
right on it.
Interactive, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but wasn't a board like a board?
Yes.
It wasn't a TV that can go, so
Right.
it can play videos.
Yeah.
So you can really like feed your
And you
computer.
operate from your laptop.
Right,
that you're
right,
Casting to the.
correct. Yep.
That's what- I hear that term a lot. I just wanted to make sure I know what it was.
We have both models. We have the clear touch, we have the touch view. So we have both models within the district.
And could you explain a little bit more about the tech teacher leader role? So I can imagine she must be so busy.
So I have to say, coming to Shaker Lane years ago, this district is so fast forward with technology. So we have one position in our building that is a tech leader. And so this person would be our go-to person if we had questions about how to set up accounts for, RAS kids, or if someone is putting on PD. Julie runs trainings with the tech teachers in each of the buildings. Each grade level team has one or two people that are tech savvy, but Rachel is our person, our go-to person if we want to do something building wide or gets the PD funneled from central office. Anything else with that?
No, yeah, well, that's great. That's how proactive to get a person like that in place. You know, so you can keep a pace of all the changes that are happening in technology.
Yep.
This is behind it. So,
We have that position at each school.
so at middle school and high school as well?
Yeah.
In Russell
Yeah,
Street.
Yeah. in Russell Street.
Thank you.
No other questions? All right,
Great.
thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Sorry.
Good evening. I was just, when we were talking before I came up here, this is really one I completely agree with Michelle, that as a principal, this doesn't have to be right in the forefront of our minds. It kind of evolves. But I do want to say, and I know everyone agrees that, it evolves as seamlessly as it evolves because we have an amazing tech team. Julie, who is sitting here, two shout outs to Julie, but Natalie and Charlie, and Heidi McGregor, in our building as well. You know, they are the people that come to us with the suggestions and ideas. Do you want to check this out? Should we try this, you know, as a trial with kids? And so as I'm thinking about technology over the years, it seems like we've just always had it. But in fact, you know, it wasn't that long ago when we were talking about a one-to-one program with Chromebooks with third graders. That's just going back a few years. So it's kind of amazing how quickly this has all evolved. But you know, in terms of our goals at Russell Street, the district technology plan, that is something that that the tech team stays current on, and we want to make sure that we continue to stay current as well. So the touchscreen TVs, for example, were something that Julie suggested a while back. We should try these. Some classroom teachers piloted them, loved them. And then they're all over the building now. So, you know, that's really wonderful. The tech teacher leader position evolved from it being sort of difficult for just our tech person, Charlie Sullivan, for example, in our building, to be all places at all times when people needed help. And we realized, you know, several years back that it was, if people were hesitant to use new technology or try a new app or something, if they didn't think they were going to have support. And so the tech teacher leader role sort of came from that. And so I know at Russell Street, we make sure that our tech teacher leader during a staff meeting is able to give suggestions or maybe say, this is something new that I tried if you want to try it. But we always know that that person can be of assistance in the building. It is a stipend position. And so if someone really wants to do something that's high tech, you know, in the week coming up, they make time with the tech teacher leader and know that that is the contact person in the building. So they don't have to feel like they're taking up, you know, a colleague's or peers' time. Can you help me, where that person is assigned to that role or has elected to take on that role? So that position is a really valuable position in the building. Our digital citizenship at Russell Street is something that all of our classes complete every year. And it really is to stay addressing the shifting competencies. Heidi McGregor works with all of the teachers in each one of the classes, and each one of the classrooms as a whole completes their digital citizenship for the class. And it's specific for each grade. So, you know, it's different in third grade than it is in fifth grade, but it's really to make sure students understand how to be safe and good citizens when they're using their computers or any kind of digital platform. So thank you to Heidi, certainly for doing all of that. And reviewing the effectiveness of technology and integrating it, that's something that is like evolves speedy fast. But again, as I indicated a minute ago, you know, it's often Julie or someone from the team that will say, I saw this at a workshop, I went here, you know, I have a friend that's a teacher who, you know, has this, but we're, I feel like we're always right on the cutting edge of that here in Littleton. And so, you know, thanks to our tech team for that. You know, we have no lack of technology at our school or in our district, in my opinion. So Russell Street's in really good shape. Any questions?
Can I just ask a question about the, so the digital citizenship program? So can you talk to me a little bit more about how, is that more for kid safety or is it also like healthy technology use patterns? Like, what does it encompass?
It's all of those things.
Yeah.
So they'll go in as a whole class of third graders into the think tank and at the end of their discussions, it's a series of lessons where they talk about, being safe on the computer, but also using it responsibly. How long should you be on the computer? Things like that, that are appropriate for an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old. And then, when the class has all, finished and completed it, we announce it, over the intercom in the morning that, congratulations to this class. And so all 18 classes, finish that in the fall before we're fully into, getting their, computers and using them.
Awesome, that sounds great.
Yeah, it is great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Steve, if you're gonna Chamberlain, I think about to add that.
Oh, good, is something you.
Okay, yeah. I meant to ask, when I saw that, I was like, that's what I meant to use.
Yeah.
That's great.
All right,
He's dizzy.
sorry.
Thank you.
Hello. I recognize that everything we're about to say will be completely out of date, obviously, by this time tomorrow, so we'll just have to address it as we go. With the middle school, really, we're talking about two main goals. One of them is really we're working with teachers. The first goal is to phase out MacBooks, or replace them with Chromebooks. The Chromebooks have gotten so much better over the years, and they're so much cheaper and can do so much more with the suite of things that we're doing. But what I'm looking for specifically are the Chromebooks that would have the touch screen, the detachable screen. It's my opinion that, I was fortunate to work in a district that I had those years ago. And so when you're teaching, to be able to have that in front of you, to be able to walk around the classroom and be able to work with kids, to be able to put it down and let them write answers on the board. Because anytime you're up on the touch screen writing, your back is to the students. And so what I would love for us to do is get to a point where we can disconnect from the laptop, writing here, watching it go up and then moving about to making our teachers more mobile. I think it'll be a great help in terms of strategy and getting kids interested and engaged in what we're doing because they can become a part of the lesson. So to do that, when that time comes, if it comes, we'll certainly have to provide professional development on those teaching strategies and to increase I use the fancy word, synergy between the Chromebooks, the TouchView, and the classroom applications, really making it come along so that it's not just, hey, we're going to look at an excerpt of a story and we're going to, mark the parts of a sentence. We're really talking about how to make it more, interactive with students and what they're doing. So obviously we want to try and get teachers to volunteer and then eventually sort of work to sort of make this a mandated thing as we continue to replace computers, starting to do that with more of the Chromebooks. And then finally for students, we want to be able to build meaningful connections. The technology and what it's capable of now, like I haven't even addressed AI with this. To be able to connect kids to technology and what it's capable of, I think is really important as we move forward, getting kids ready for high school. Not just the digital citizenship part, which is hugely important, but now let's take that next step and let's talk about, how does this impact social media? How does it impact elections? How do we start to look at things in terms of the day-to-day life of what this technology has the capability to do? It's fascinating. And I know it causes a lot of fear, but there's some really interesting paths that AI is certainly going to allow us to take. And so getting kids to be thinking about it in those terms years before it becomes an option for them, I think will really put us ahead in terms of what we do as a district. So, looking at those skills and then generating that interest and that might come in the form of before or after school tech sessions. I know Julie is running a game design program every Wednesday morning for kids, and it's been successful where the kids can come and not just code, right, but really think about the games in its entirety and how to craft that. And I think they're gonna love it as the years go on. And then again, just talking more about technology, not just in terms of how to do something, but also its impact. So that's our two-pronged thing.
Jason, where are you with the phase out of the MacBooks into Chromebooks? Is that just the beginning process or?
So Julie and I talked about this last year. I went through a phase last year where I was looking for anything and everything I could find that would move teachers away from it. And there are great products out there, but they get to be expensive and there's a learning curve. At that time, Chromebooks, were coming out with these detachable screens. And so we talked a lot about that. So we haven't done that at this point. I think it's really more of a discussion of end of life.
Mm-hmm.
When do the current teacher MacBooks become outdated? And can we start to replace them with these Chromebooks as we move forward? So some of that's going to be dependent on the MacBook themselves and when they were issued. So my hope is to begin at some point in time in the next year or two, and just once people get used to it and try it, I think they're going to love it. It's just getting over that initial, that clumsiness that comes with something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, I think some of it too is that they have to switch from the Apple world to the
Uh-huh.
Google world.
Right.
And, you know, like if you tried to rip me, I know how the teachers feel, but
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. It's gonna be fine.
But I forget, I think you had said at another session that you have systems in place for teachers to observe other teachers.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I can, like, the way you describe it sounds so engaging, you know, I'm picturing myself as a teacher being able to walk around with a touch screen where I can cast,
Yeah.
you know, from anywhere in the room, I can cast like the clear touch board,
Right.
you know, and how great that would be for community building and for student engagement. But I feel like I really have to see it to buy in.
And
So,
there's a
you
part
know,
where you're,
if
yeah.
you had some teachers who were adept at it, that other teachers could see.
And that's what we try to do, is lean on those that are excited about it, moving forward with it. I think they'll be more inclined to do it if their peer or their colleague is doing it, as opposed to us just saying, yeah, do it. There is a learning curve. I mean, the ones, you know, that we used in Cambridge, you know, they're rudimentary, but it was, you know, it takes a little while to learn, to be able to write here and look up there and have it all kind of go. It does take that time, but if you're willing to put it in, it changed the way that I taught.
Yeah.
It just allowed me to do so much more and connect so much more with kids. And so the time is worth it if we can get people
You could
to,
even demonstrate at a staff meeting.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
When did Cambridge have those implemented?
So this was, well, it wasn't like we're talking about now, like a touchscreen Chromebook. It was a smart board called Easy Teach, which is kind of like a low rent version of like the actual smart board. But what it came with was this Padlet thing that you would hold, and it had its little pen, and you would write, and it would just take everything you were doing up on the screen. So I couldn't see what on the screen what I was doing. I would have to constantly look up there. But if I wanted to, you know, do notes, or we wanted to look at some photos and stuff, it had that capability. So it was very early on, and I found it the other day. I had it somewhere in a box. I tried to hook it up and see if it would work, and it did nothing. I was hoping, because I wanted to come in and show what it was possible. So that was probably 10 years ago.
Well, what does Cambridge have now?
I have no idea.
Find out for me.
Okay, I'll see.
Because you only know what you know. We already
Right.
heard the comment, oh, we think the district's got the latest and greatest. We don't
Yeah.
have any technology needs. But once you kind of look around, you might find out that
Yeah.
other districts are doing something different, and we don't want to be constantly chasing them.
Right. Yeah, that's easy. We've got some things coming up, meetings that I have with other principals in the area. So it's certainly a question I can ask.
Some of those urban districts get the latest and greatest. So,
Much bigger budgets.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Just curious.
Can I
Thank you.
say-
Just
Comment?
piggyback on my question from Cheryl about the digital citizenship, like how is that being integrated into the middle school as a program that's started at Shaker Lane all the way up through?
It starts in sixth grade.
Yeah.
Where kids are being introduced, like for the first time, their own email addresses in a way that, you know, aren't just like star 2023 or something like that. It's them. And so with that comes the acceptable use and sort of learning that part of it, right? So then we start to dip our toes into social media. So it starts in sixth grade, it's revisited in seventh and eighth grade, not just in the computer classes, but also in the health class. Because, you know, so many ways they are connected. So it's not just a one-time thing.
Yeah.
It's woven throughout the curriculum in all 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Hi, everyone.
No.
So, wait a minute, you on Zoom is. Hold on, there's a question. Or a voice. That's all right. What's that?
All set.
Okay, go ahead. All right, so to wrap it up for the presentation with the high school, I'd like to, the goals are, all that language for the goals listed for the high school, and I think Russell Street used the same approach, are specific to the strategic plan, the district strategic plan. So we sort of wanted to say, that goal, how do we apply that in our school improvement plan at the high school level. And now we're presenting tonight in the technology category. So action steps, interweave UDL principles, which is universal design for learning, and practices with instructional technology tools, applications, and projects. Now, a faculty probably would understand that readily, but so because given the audience is public, I thought I'd use ChatGPT I said, how to interweave UDL principles and practices with instructional technology tools and applications. And it was really interesting. I read this right before the meeting just to see what it would say. If it was going to say something different from me. And it was very informative. It was definitely aligned with a lot of our professional development that we've had over the last 2 years about universal design for learning. We're looking for this in our observations. We were talking about this in an admin meeting today about how are we manifesting this? How is it becoming obvious? How will we look? What are our look fors when we go in and observe classes? Is it evident? Are we including it in evaluations and follow-up discussions? And we are. We had a good, robust discussion about that today. But so ChatGPT helped me a little bit here. We are definitely strengthening the learning experiences for a variety of learners with instructional technology. And these are ChatGPT used very specific lingo and language that mirrored our professional development and the books we've had about universal design for learning. It said multiple means of representation, adaptive, interactive simulations, audio, video, various formats would be evident in a classroom if you're doing this. It also, ChatGPT spoke again and said multiple means of expression. This is all aligned with, these are the things we've all been talking about in our various presentations at the in faculty meetings, but also in our department meetings, which means, a diversity of assessment tools, presentations, multimedia projects, interactive quizzes. And then went on multiple means of engagement. And Paul Orzik was talking a little bit about this, including games, simulations, online collaboration, discussion forums, virtual projects, collaboration, collaborating with document editing. We do that as a faculty, certainly, but I think students are doing that too. So those are the types of things specifically we would be looking for over the next couple of years as part of our school improvement plan. And a lot of it is already evident in the school, but we'll be looking for more of it. Incorporating accessibility features to really be, inclusive and supportive of students who have learning disabilities. Flexible learning pathways like adaptive testing, adaptive pacing, adaptive content. Apps to help students schedule themselves, for time, keep reminders in task lists and things like that. And lots of choices for different topics and projects and different ways of presenting. So I thought that was interesting that ChatGPT was able to sort of define this for me. And so I wanted to share this for you, that's what we mean when we say interweave UDL principles and practices with instructional technology. And with that said, I'll move on to the next one, which is a little bit easier to understand readily right away. Review and upgrade technology tools, our digital messaging, school communication via email. What we're specifically looking at our high school is how we send out a weekly message to community, Friday flyer, but we also send a message out, memos to staff. How can we make it more visually appealing with some type of, I've been talking to Julie Lord and Natalie Coteau, our tech coordinators, about this, some type of newsletter format that can embed video and pictures and really is more appealing for people who are our audience, with parents and students. We're competing with lots of different emails they get and how much time and attention they'll give to it. So we want it to be really visually appealing. So I wanted to mention that one. We're also, going to look at how we manage social media. We're kind of, we're wrestling with the movement from Twitter to X, and we're tweeting or posting less now, and trying to figure out what would be maybe a better social media platform for the high school to connect with students and community members. So next slide, please. You actually talked a little bit about this, Elaine. Continue the support of student and staff use of interactive flat panels. We also have a teacher leader who could help with this, and the tech staff and our tech assistants, in the department. The department is actually at the high school. So we have lots of resources right there. But we've adopted, it's pretty much in every classroom now. It's either a Clear Touch or Touch View interactive panel. Students are using it as well. I don't know if you've used it yet, Jay, but a lot of teachers will give the students access to it and be able to go and make presentations using it. And our teachers are using it definitely every day. Strengthen computer science and engineering course offerings and the experiences at LHS. I think I talked about this during a previous presentation related to curriculum. where do we want to go? And so if we look at the right-hand side of the indicators of success, we have pretty much completed a review of other high school programs and offerings, just looking at their program studies. Those schools that are much larger can have more staffing, they have more space, so they can offer more. And we also want to consider what post-secondary employers are looking for, whether kids going on to college or not. What do they prefer in high school preparation for our graduates? And we're reviewing the DESE very much with digital literacy. So this is a multi-year effort. This isn't something budget-wise that we could plan out and say, oh, we're going to add a computer science teacher next year. That's not the plan right now, but we want to think 2 years out, 3 years out. Where do we want to be? What gives? You know, are we doing things differently? Is this going to take the place of something, or is it in addition to? In particular, I think there's a strong desire. I was talking to class officers about this just recently. I meet with them in small groups, and I was talking to them about, you know, how many of you are interested in STEM field? Well, all their hands went up. It was, you know, and I was so fascinated by it. I know there's a strong interest in STEM. We have lots of parents and residents who work in the STEM fields. So we have to strengthen our engineering offerings of basic courses, and things like that, hands-on learning, as well as computer science. So that's an area of growth for the high school. Pointed it out before, but I think it will be quite an accomplishment for us to say that, you know, we set out to do this, and looking back, you know, whether it's me or someone else could say we did this over the last 5 years of Littleton High School. Next slide. Is that it? No, I think that's it.
Sorry, hold on.
I think it's just two.
There's one more.
And to Stacy's point earlier about, you know, providing digital citizenship, cyber safety training, we're working on this. We have LineWise that we've consulted with through our tech department. We were thinking of going ahead with a presentation from them, but it would be remote. We want to get someone in person, so we're going to work with the assistant district attorney for Middlesex County and try to coordinate, have them come in as an in-person speaker to talk about online safety. We did this several years ago. It was a fantastic presentation, but we want this to be part of the 9th grade experience, that every 9th grader has a presentation on this. Digital citizenship is also embedded in our health curriculum as well. I think that was pointed out by Jason, so that we do carry on. And a lot of the work has been done. If things have gone well, pre-K to, you know, or K to 8, you know, a lot of the work has already, the ground foundations that ready for us. Jason touched a little bit upon this, the integration of AI. I wouldn't be surprised if starting next September, our faculty have to include something in their syllabus related to academic integrity, a statement about that, and particularly with the use of ChatGPT or Bard. Our art program is starting to play around with Dolly as well. I know that I've talked to John Allen, who's one of our art teachers, and he's doing some things with that. There's tremendous possibility, you know, potential for really enhancing instruction and the experience for students by using these tools in an appropriate way. So we're exploring that. This is a multi-year effort, though. I mean, the school improvement plan goes through, I think, 2026. So we'll be looking at this not just now, but in the succeeding years. So I just thought I'd mention that, and then incorporate into future technology plans and practices. So, yeah, any questions?
Yeah, I'm stunned at, you know, it was just a year ago when ChatGPT was just becoming really, you know, prevalent in education, and we were all freaked out.
Yeah.
You know, our kids can cheat, and, you know, this is a disaster for education. And I think, you know, I love that you're using it. I write curriculum, and I just started using Brisk. I don't know if you're, it's a game changer. Like, you can highlight what you wrote and say, make this at blah, blah grade level text and AI, but it also has a feature, it's a Chrome extension. It has a feature where it can identify if student work has been generated by AI.
So our teachers are starting to use tech. I don't know if that's the specific tool, but I know I talked to one of our history teachers recently who had detected something and had to have a conversation with students, you know, and try as a teachable moment. Hey, I noticed this is not entirely you. And so that some of our high school precocious high school students have been called out on it already by teachers who are using tools to combat, you know, that issue of, you know, whether it's plagiarism, but certainly trying to ensure academic integrity. We'll we'll have to probably provide some type of formal presentation and inclusion in our student handbook about it as well. Because it's a big issue on the college campuses, so.
Well, I love that you're ahead of it and that,
Thank you.
you're looking into the future. And also, I was really happy to hear you make reference to the DLCS framework from DESE. And that is sort of guiding your college.
Yeah, I know Beth Steele has worked on that specifically, right? And Julie, and a team of teachers.
Yeah,
So-
so that's, yeah, because it's K to 12, so I have some questions. I'm holding them for you. But, thank you, that was.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just want to check in with Beanal, because I know she's not. Beanal, if you can hear us, or we just want to make sure we can hear you. I want to see if you had any questions.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
We can barely hear you. It looks like you're just got through the TV.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Hi. Sorry, I was trying to talk earlier, but I don't think you could hear me. I wanted to just give some appreciation for Jason, one of your goals that you had shared in really generating interest for skills at the middle school age for future careers. And this is something I've been thinking a lot about in terms of how we really prepare our students for a workforce and career path that's going to look entirely different than what we have now. And just feeling like that's really a responsibility in education, while also balancing what you were talking about earlier, Elaine and John, about, the risk of sort of the plagiarisms and the way to use AI that are not necessarily beneficial. And I think the district and all the principals are just doing such a great job of really intentionally thinking in a developmentally appropriate way and preparing children for the future. And I think we all have a lot to learn. John, also, I fully support going in the direction of a computer science teacher. And if there's any way that, the school committee could help with that and think about that intentionally, I definitely would want to support that in any way possible.
Great. Thanks, Beanal. All right, I think that sort of wraps up that presentation. So we'll move on next. Presentation number 3, instructional technology update from the district. We'll get this scheduled for 15 minutes. Julie Lord is with us this evening, who's going to provide instructional technology update. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Julie Lord.
Yeah, I'm working
Thank
on it.
you.
Hold on, give me a second.
It's a little slow with technology.
That's right.
I
Not yet.
am,
The networking.
National Technology Coordinator for our district. So I'm here tonight. I'm just going to give you a brief overview, sort of the highlights of what's been going on in our classrooms, in our schools when we're talking about instructional tech.
There it is.
Thank you. You can go to the next one. All right, so this is the next slide. This isn't new news, but yes, we are 1-to-1 in our district, K to 12. What does that look like? That is iPads for K transitional and grade 1, and we're in a Chromebook model from 2 to grade 8. High school, the program that we had implemented back in 2017 when we first started our 1-to-1 program with our freshmen and sophomores, where they have the opportunity to either at least purchase a managed device from the school, or use their own personal device. So that's been very successful. We still have that exact same model running at the school. As Michelle had said too, COVID kind of put us on the fast track to 1-to-1 for every student while we were in those hybrid years. We did decide to make a very cautious step back with our littles. A year back into school to kind of step back from that 1-to-1 model and kind of let it really happen when we wanted it to be meaningful integration into the classroom. So that actually, as of last year, we started having conversations with the kindergarten teams and made the decision to start to move forward this year with the 1-to-1. So we are fully 1-to-1 K to 12. And it's wonderful to see Jay here. Jay and I spend our Friday mornings together. And now with the district-wide technology, we end up having a lot of district-wide damage sometimes. So we actually, a few years back, started a group called Tiger Tech. This is a student-led initiative with high school students where they do a lot of basic repairs on our Chromebook devices. So this is led by our 2 seniors, Jay and Ben Schcmte. Did I say his name?
Yeah.
So we meet Fridays at Flex. They are in charge of managing about 20 to 24 students who they have trained and brought up to speed on doing basic Chromebook repairs. We're really good at screen repairs, batteries, keyboards, trackpads, right? So, so this model works beautifully. Take a lot of pride when we get ahead of the student damage, and we're kind of like, now we're sort of at a lull right now, right? They also provide tech support for Council on Aging. So this is a program that started a few years ago, kind of took a little bit of a setback during the COVID years, as far as we would offer Council on Aging. They would sign up, and our high school students would offer technical support for their personal devices, where they would come into the school on an afternoon, and students would work with our senior citizens kind of with new tech, or kind of just troubleshooting any issues, learning about new apps. So we are actually we'll start that back up on February, slightly different model, where we're opening that up on the first Thursdays of every month. So that's something, if anyone in the community is interested, you can reach out to Council on Aging, and they'll have more information on how to sign up. And Jay and his crew will be the ones managing and that whole project there. All right, so we can't talk about instructional tech or technology in the hands of our students without talking about digital wellness and digital citizenship. So we had implemented our K to 5, probably 5 years ago, our digital citizenship curriculum, which really has kind of changed a little bit over the course of the past couple of years. But pretty much at its core, it's usually 3 or 4 lessons that are in line. Nowadays, we're using more common sense media curriculum. And those lessons are typically done in the classroom environment. A couple of years ago, we sat down with middle school with Todd Shoemaker, our computer teacher, and with Heidi McGregor, our K to 5 STEM integration specialist, that just to integrate and make sure that we're aligning the digital citizenship curriculum. So the verbiage, what we're talking about in the younger years, that same conversation can be kind of taken through 6th, 7th, and 8th. So Todd has adopted the same model, where he's got 3 lessons per grade that are in line with the lessons that they were taught in K to 5. And additionally, just as Jason was saying too, and at the high school, this also digital citizenship is something that is already embedded in a lot of the health and wellness curriculum. So, but this, we had partnered last year with LineWise, who provides our content filtering for our students' devices and accounts. We now have this online safety hub. This is available to our families in our community. The link is there, but it's also available on our district website. This is a great resource just for parents, for teachers, just to kind of get some information, quick tips, tricks, resources on what apps approval ratings are, what to kind of look out for. It also has some helpful blog posts on how to deal with typical children's behaviors when dealing with online technology. So again, just so our community is aware, this is something that we have been promoting from last year. So anyone is welcome to check that out on our LPS district site. What's new in the classroom? So the big hubbub around the schools is the interactive panels. So we started bringing these in the spring of 2022. We started with the middle school and high school because our AV systems in the classrooms were now outdated, right? So the projectors, the wiring in the wall was very much outdated. And so we were looking around for sort of what was sort of the newer technology and what that would look like. We went with the panels and instantly realized that there are so many benefits rather than doing something that's very static, like redoing the mounted projectors. And also the engagement, the interaction. Selfishly for our team, the ease of deployment management, they come with a management tool, the support, they're just an easier piece of tech to kind of deploy and maintain. I think our favorite part, so when we initially deployed to middle school and high school, and then we did a few models down in elementary, and that was like, that they were begging to bring those in because they work, the interactive panels work really nice with a lot of our newer curriculum. Especially the ones that have like the interactive online, like manipulatives and the interactive lessons and stuff like that. So elementary really was an easy rollout. They were ready for them. The kids already are in the classrooms. This is a first grade classroom, probably doing a morning activity. So those were very well integrated, easy on. We have a lot of learning. I feel like everyone's kind of made the transition from the way that they had instruct previously to the interactive panels, but they're starting to kind of incorporate the functionality and technology that's in there in a little bit of it by kind of recreating sort of their instruction. So any question on the panels? We do have two models. We tend to have the touch views at the high school and middle school, and then the clear touch. Very similar models, bells and whistles look a little bit different.
So every classroom now has
Almost every classroom in the district has one, yeah. It's like 22 to 24 per school, per building, so yeah. So we have a few more.
On the slide, you have the mobile motorized adjustable stand.
So, right, so that was a game changer. So those were brought in for elementary, and that was I'm glad we made that. Like, sometimes it's hard because when you don't see what it looks like in a classroom, you don't know if it's worth the cost, but in elementary, it's absolutely worth the cost. So the kids are really interacting often with these. So yeah, they work great in small group too. So so they've been a real enhancement to instructional tech in the classroom. So that's been really fun and very positive. So
What's the like projected useful life of these things? Is
Yeah.
it like a generic hardware and the software is all sort of behind the scenes constantly updating, or
So-
do they time out?
Yeah, so both the models have two different kind of specs to them. So the touch view is very static. So it's not really, we're not updating. I think it's Android. I don't remember which software, but we're not, that kind of is what it is. And that we're looking at a 7-year lifespan on that. We are expecting at least 7 years, should we say. So we're not totally sure what that would look like. The clear touch seems to we have more ability to update. So that may look like a longer lifespan. And if anything, it's not that I would expect it to not function. The touch, it's that it just might start to be outdated.
Sure.
But again, the power in these two is there's a lot of functionality just in the base unit, right? Native to, because it has an Android brain. So, a little almost like a mobile type of unit, has a lot of like the annotation tools and some cool apps that are built in. But most commonly, teachers are connecting their teacher laptop. So with that model, it's not really going to matter ever, as long as we can always connect by HDMI, which hopefully that won't ever go away, but it's slowly changing. So so I think we're good. And we in our department, we pay a lot of attention to our budget, and we always try to make sure that we have sort of like this reoccurring schedule so we can make sure that we're always just buying the same, so we can stay within our same budget line. So we'll end up implementing the same type of when it comes to starting to replace these devices. But again, as we know in the tech world, nobody has any idea what 5 years from now is going to look like. So we'll see. But they've been very positively, been a very positive experience. So, and the teachers have been wonderful. Again, both of those deployments were done springtime, which sometimes these opportunities present themselves, and we just have to take them when we get them. And so that's a lot to ask for teachers to kind of let us roll something into their classroom in the spring. And I have to say that they, were very open-minded and hopeful that this would be a benefit to their instruction. And I think pretty much we're in a good spot with that. So classroom tech, we're looking real good. All right, so here we go. All right, so merge cubes. All right, so we definitely like to keep our eyes open. We have some tech that we brought in that we just know is solid, like 3D printing and the laser cutter and, small programmable robotics. So we're always kind of keeping those up to date and making sure that we kind of continue that. They're so integrated into like lessons and curriculum that we always want to support them. But we are always looking for sort of like something new that might help to kind of engage in the classroom, and especially where everything's changing so quickly. So with a grant that we were able to get with Littleton Electric last spring, we introduced the merge cubes. So what are the merge cubes? So the merge cubes are, have you guys seen these before? So really, they're just like these cute little foam things. They have markers on each side. They're not very expensive, the cube themselves. But with them, I'll let you guys know. But what they allow you to do is pretty much
This might be the
create.
best presentation we've ever had.
So if you look up here too, so what a merge cube allows students to do is interact with 3D modeling through AR, so augmented reality. So we already know that 3D models are incredibly engaging and such a great learning opportunity for students to be able to hold, manipulate, and really be able to analyze, evaluate something in their hands. So this allows students to do it in on a virtual platform. So these are pictures of, so we rolled this out in spring, and I had Amy Durkin, grade 6 science, is always an early adapter. So she had brought this in. She actually did 2 lessons with them. She did one on animal cells and plant cells. So they were comparing the 2 different cell types. And then she also did one on the human anatomy. So I was hoping, if we have enough time, do you feel like we have like 4 or 5 minutes?
Go for it.
Okay, all right, so I'm we're just gonna quickly get a glimpse of like what it was, how the kids kind of got this experience in science grade 6 in the spring. So great, Jay's here too. So, okay, so perfect. So you should be able to, it should be on and ready to go, but possibly not. So you're just gonna scan the cube. It should say scan the cube.
Yep.
I tried to make it as, so the first thing I would recommend is just expand the.
That was the key.
So expand like that.
Yep.
Okay, so now typically they're working with partners too, but now you can, once you expand, I'd expand it because it just looks, and then you can, as you move it around, you can grab your cube.
Okay.
It takes a little getting used to. The kids pick this up really fast, right? But it takes a little getting used to because you got to make sure that that cube is a marker, right? So the marker, oops, you know what? I don't.
Ah,
I didn't get to prep them all, Kelly. I'm
that's
sorry.
okay.
This would make some
Good
good
for you.
Are you looking at a heart?
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
no, there you go.
Yeah.
Definitely expand.
Perfect.
There we go.
What I love too, so there's a library. This is kind of pre-made content.
Isn't that cool?
The heart's beating.
Now you.
Yes, yeah. And you can get in there.
Wow.
But this one app, and there's actually a handful of apps that we can use with these merge cubes. This one app has a library of collections and stuff. So there's some really cool stuff in there. There's like, so that is digital content, right? So they're recreating a heart beating so they can kind of see how the valves and everything are working. But they do with artifacts and fossils, sometimes they'll actually take real pictures of real items. And so students can actually have an opportunity to see something that they probably would never get to handle. So there's a really good one in there for fossils too, that has like the a human skull. That's really cool to kind of check out. But one of my favorite things is for the littler students, because I know they have the dinosaur one where they come in when it first comes in, it comes in kind of small. But under options, there's show actual size. So it's really kind of cool because if you hit that, then you're like, wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
So the content is online and this just allows you to access it, or can kids create content?
That's so cool.
Yeah. So the merge cube, right? So the app that you're using right now is the merge cube company made this application. So there's a library of collections and different pre-made content.
Yeah, right into the.
But sometimes you might not find what you need in there, right? So we actually have, Steve, on that, will you pull up the slide?
Oh, yeah,
Thank
I
you.
wanted people on the,
Oh,
I wanted people at home to see what.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't. So in this app, on the Merge app, you can't create, right? So it's sort of like they give you this library, but in this middle picture down at the bottom. So this was Dustin Bordeaux, who is our grade 6 social studies teacher. He wasn't able to find content that he was looking for in that library, in that app. So again, we can move on to the next slide with a grant from Littleton Electric. Again, we were able to buy licensing for CoSpaces. So CoSpaces is an online platform that allows students and teachers to create in 3D, either virtual VR or AR, augmented reality, right? So sorry, I'm so excited. Dustin, so in the upper right-hand corner here, so he had a lesson where he, students needed to identify human-like species based on the skull structure. And so he basically created on CoSpaces all these different models. So students, I think there were 6 of them, so students would have to take all the different species and analyze the way that their foreheads were formed and make a decision on which species it was. So it was a really great use of the platform that we had just rolled out. So I was really excited. Dustin is the first one who has created with the AR piece of it. But the VR piece, we actually have 2 projects going on. So the VR piece is really interesting because when we first explain it to the students, I say it's kind of like creating in Minecraft where you have the ability to build a 3D world, but then they can also leverage like their coding knowledge that they built from scratch, because they can actually code any object inside this 3D world using block-based coding. So they can create this game-like user experience where they can create a virtual world and someone can come into their world and there can be actions happening, conversations happening, interactions and everything. So there is a link here. We don't have to watch it, but for those at home or want to know a little bit more about CoSpaces, that's a quick like intro video to it. The pictures down below are 2 examples of the one Jason had. We are doing game design at the middle school on Wednesday mornings during Flex. They are building games. So some of the games some students are doing scavenger hunts, some are doing escape rooms, which are really cool. So you click on something in order to try to get out of an area. Some of them are doing parkour games. So that's been a really fun project, a really good way to kind of see what it looks like in the hands of the students. And then we just finished a project with grade 7 in computer class where they were challenged to recreate a scene from a story, right? So and create this interactive scene from a story or book. So that's been a really exciting platform to kind of explore. We have that license for another year. So we'll kind of see where we can possibly integrate it with curriculum. And if so, we'll kind of look forward to maybe continuing the license. So it's really good. I think we do a nice job at kind of taking opportunities to kind of explore different technologies and see what it looks like in the hands of our educators and our students, and then kind of make a decision whether or not whether to move forward. The other thing too is things get outdated so quickly that it's good to be very flexible in that capacity. So any questions about that? I know it's a lot of information. I just wanted to get
I'm watching the CoSpaces video because we had the slideshow ahead of time.
Oh, okay, great. Isn't it?
Highly recommended.
It's so
amazing.
cool. Yeah, and the kids are really into it. So it's really an easy one to kind of like get the kids involved because it's like incredibly engaging. And they can create amazing things because the kids are doing most of this stuff anyway, just on more gaming platforms. So this is a way to kind of take curriculum and something that's really of interest to the students and bring them together. Win-win. All right. So, okay. And this is my last slide. Yeah, so AI, again, we can't not have this conversation. I feel like the district handled this very well. As you said last year, when ChatGPT kind of hit the mainstream, and everyone was very kind of nervous and not quite sure of what was going to be happening with that. I think we took an opportunity to kind of take a step back and kind of give ourselves some space to kind of learn a little bit more about it and have conversations. So we actually we had a lot of roundtable conversations, whether it was an ECC or SCC. We actually, this year, Heidi put together a PD for AI for the busy teacher. So that was kind of an intro, great way to intro AI with using Canva. So that was sort of like a nice, easy opportunity to kind of leverage with Canva's free platform on how to use their Magic Write, which is same technology as ChatGPT. And then we did one with ChatGPT, focusing on that, really how teachers can leverage the power of AI and how you can really learn to be, learn how to prompt and be able to manipulate AI to get good quality substance content. We also had our UDL trainings. They had introduced, which I'm not familiar with, but a platform called DIFIT. And I know a lot of teachers have been talking about that. So it obviously was something that really kind of resonated with our educators. And then we also took some time to put together some educator guidelines, because initially out of the gate, I think we felt that people were just either fearful of it, thought that we shouldn't be using it for work or whatever. And so we put together some guidelines so we would help support teachers in starting to kind of just explore. And I feel like that was a good move too. So those are sort of the generative AI that we hear teachers kind of talking about, the Canvas Magic Write, ChatGPT. Magic School is a big one. I've barely used it, but a lot of teachers, I'm not quite sure where they've been exposed to it, but that seems to be like the one when I'm talking that everyone's like, oh my goodness, Magic School. So yeah, so it's really exciting. We'll continue these conversations because I think we're all well aware this will have an impact on education, but I think it could definitely have a positive one. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to implement and leverage the benefits of it with our students and our educators. And then I think I have one more. It's just a quote to leave you with. This is George Soros. I think this quote was from 2014. Still very relevant. So that's all I have for you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, comments, feedback?
I just,
Blown away?
yeah, well, I love all this stuff. We had talked a little earlier with John about the DLCS framework and how he's really looking at that at the high school, but I'm sure you've got a vertical alignment in your head of how this is going K to 12.
So we don't, at this point, we've looked at the framework. We've looked at where we are in different capacities, kind of K to 5 is one bucket. And then we looked at it in middle school. I think at this point, for K to 8, we're just sort of kind of looking at the framework and seeing where we are within that. I know at the high school, it's a completely different ballgame, right? Because if you're teaching computer science, you have to be in line with that framework. So what I have seen has been a bigger benefit to our district is we have started kind of coming together from all the schools, from elementary, middle, and Russell and the high school, and having conversations about what are the opportunities that we're offering our students, what are the pathways, what does DLCS look like right now, and where do we want to go forward? And I feel like those have been really helpful, especially when we're talking about kind of just aligning so that we can create more opportunities when kids do get to high school, understanding whether or not, they've had enough exposure, then they could. So those conversations have been really helpful. But as far as adopting the frameworks for K to 8, at this point, we have not.
I mean, it sounds like you're doing so much of it, like,
Yeah,
there's the core domains, like the computing in society, like that's really all about digital citizenship, and you're doing so much with that, like.
We're in really good shape,
Yeah,
right? So we're not far off the mark.
yeah, I think if you did an alignment, I think you would see that you're really there, and like the second domain is the digital tools and collaboration, and you're all about that.
Yeah.
And computing systems, but I feel like the second two are kind of more at the secondary level, where kids are learning coding and networking and, but it sounds like you're.
Yeah, no, we're in really good shape. And again, too, I gotta give props. I mean, Heidi McGregor, K-5, I mean, a lot of this has come from really having a substantial curriculum plan in place for K-5. So those students are coming out of grade 5 with a skill set that we're able to leverage in the middle school years. And then to be able to build on that so that they're ready for what they're looking for in with computer science courses at the high school. So yeah.
Also, I had a question. This is reflecting that I'm relatively new at the school committee, but there's been references in a few of the documents to the technology plan. Is that a part of the strategic plan, or is the technology plan a separate document?
It's a separate document. One of our standards in our strategic plan is technology. It's an entirely separate document. That allows us to review where we are and look toward the future and to make sure that we're still keeping up with technology, which is a huge cost. It's unbelievably huge. And for us to be where we are in technology in this district, in a matter of, we started way back in 2011, but even that transition purchasing MacBooks was a huge amount of money. And then when we started to transition to Chromebooks, I was smiling when you were talking about not giving up your Mac, because I remember vividly when we were going from Macs to Chromebooks, K-5, and our teachers were the same way. And I remember walking into a meeting at Shaker Lane School and thought I was going to get mobbed because they didn't want to give them up. And I mean, now they wouldn't know what to do without the Chromebook. So, it's getting used to change, piloting new technology in our classrooms, et cetera. But we have come a long way, and our network structure is unbelievable considering the use of our network every day with video. I mean, we've done a great job. But it's something that we really have to be conscious about in terms of lifespans, and we have a replacement plan in place, and we have to make sure that we can adhere to the commitments we've made financially, because it's pretty easy to get behind very, very quickly. I also wanted to mention, I mean, we have a lot of technology in our district. We have over 2,100 devices, not to mention all the other assistive technology that we have. And our technology department, 4 people. It's amazing. I remember years ago implementing PCs in high schools, and the PC platforms are nothing like the Mac platform or Chromebook platforms. The cost of hiring staff to keep these platforms running was phenomenal. So districts started moving to Macs, and then when the Chromebooks came out, it just allowed us to do so much more with significant expense. But could you imagine having to hire the staff that you went for a PC platform? I mean, I can't even venture to guess how many staff we would need in this district if we were running PCs. It would be, I don't know, like exponential from 4. I really can't even come up with a number. So
When does the technology plan expire? Like, when does a new one need to be written?
we review that every year. It's not something that you can put on a shelf, and as a result, that's why you see touch screens in our classrooms. And you'd be hard pressed to find districts even close by that have touchscreen TVs in every classroom. We've done a phenomenal job finding that money and securing that money to move forward. But as we all realize, if we don't have a replacement plan and we can't actualize that replacement plan, we would start slipping very quick. So
Is the technology plan on the district website?
or district website. That's a Julie question or no question?
Me question, but
Well, we can certainly,
somewhere.
we can
Well, like, where
certainly,
could a school committee member find it?
we will make sure you have
Okay.
send it to the school committee. So in terms of the presentation, I mean, this is such a wonderful evening to see where we've been and where we are now and where we're looking to go. And with the talent that we have in our district, we worked really hard creating curious teachers that were willing to take risks. That's not an easy climate to create, but our administration and all of our staff involved in this case in technology have worked really hard to have our staff feel comfortable taking those risks. And sometimes you succeed, and sometimes you fail for a while. The important thing is that you have the support and you stay at it. And I mean, and we don't overuse technology. We have such a nice balance in our district. We realize that it's a tool. It's not a replacement. And just very proud of everything we've done in our district and the buy-in from our staff and the support that we have from our tech team. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks. So along Elaine's thought process, there's a couple of questions. Like, I'm looking at the strategic plan, standard 5, and some of these indicators for success. I was just wondering if we might be able to access this information. I don't want to take too deep of a dive as a school committee member, but I was particularly curious about if we could somehow access the information as it relates to the effectiveness of trainings provided for the staff, review of feedback, classroom observations, curriculum reports, consultate, like that would just be, I mean, the presentation was so wonderful. And for those that weren't able to tell at home, like we actually held a human heart in our hands, which was pretty neat. And there was a couple others that I was like super curious about. So annual assessment of teacher needs, the annual report of technology utilization integration. Is that some, could we receive those reports?
It's probably better to do a presentation rather than just dump all that data on you. So we'll take a look at what we haven't covered and we'll come up with a plan for a future presentation. But in the meantime, we'll send out the technology. Cool.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Great. Awesome. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Oh, your
Thanks,
cake is back.
Have to get that.
Yeah, well, the children would be upset.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was great.
Great. So our last presentation of the evening is a financial update by Steve Mark, business manager. 5 minutes, but I'm guessing you're only going to take 2.
Yeah, it won't take long.
No pressure.
Well, again, it won't take long because there's no concerns. I mean, we're in good shape financially. We have plenty of money to get through the rest of the year. If you look at the report, if you look at system administration and school administration, 314 and 315 cost centers, you can see we're 50% expended. We're 50% through the school year. So our fiscal year is July to June. So end of December is 50%. So we're right on track with that. Remind school committee, if you look at the regular education line and the special ed lines, those look like they're under expended at this point in time. But again, as a reminder, so the teachers get paid over 26 pay. So we basically save money for them and pay them over the summer. So that's a big payout that we do in June 30th. That's about $1.7 to $1.9 million that we're essentially holding teacher pay over the summer. So that's why that line looks low. Special education looks low because again, we spend for our out of district tuition, we spend the circuit breaker money first, and then we tap into the appropriated budget. And we're working our way through the circuit breaker money. By law, we have to spend that circuit breaker money within 1 year when we receive it. So by law, we have to spend that money down first. So transportation, again, that looks up a little bit, but we do some balloon payments in there for like case transportation. We do 2 payments a year. So there's no concerns. Again, we have plenty of money to get through the rest of the year. There's no worries about shortfalls, things like that. So I'm glad to answer questions or provide additional information if needed.
I don't have any. I know the budget subcommittee's got a a meeting scheduled in the near future. We're getting together with members of the finance committee and the select board. It's going to be a pretty tough budget cycle for the town. And our budget, as well as all budgets town-wide, are under scrutiny. So that's the message we're getting loud and clear from the select board and finance committee. So we rolling up our sleeves and sharpening our pencils to the best of our ability.
But I think this is evidence that we had a very realistic budget going into this year. Good track record.
Excellent track record.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no other questions. We will.
Thank you.
You got it. Thank you, Steve. This is our second opportunity for interested citizens. So if there's anyone present that'd like to ask questions, share concerns, now's the time. Hearing from no one, if there's no other new business before the school committee, we'll just roll through our subcommittee reports. So the first one is PMBC.
Yeah, just the update for the high school roof. I guess the last of the materials that we have been waiting for were delivered and they're in. I think they're on the roof yesterday to kind of assess timeline for getting it actually done. So they didn't get in time to skip the snowstorm, but hopefully soon. I don't know if they've given a timeline since we talked.
Yeah, when they were on the roof yesterday, they discovered some issues with that product, so they had to go back and look at that. I know it's been forever since that, but yeah.
So
They're
still
working
in
on it.
progress. So
Again, it's that project is 99% done.
right. Yeah. But yeah, that's it.
Okay. Next up is the budget subcommittee. So shared some information, but I'll just report that the budget subcommittee's got a meeting on the 17th, scheduled for the 17th at 4 o'clock. We'll have members of the finance committee and the select board joining us for that meeting, more than likely. And it does appear to be a very tough budget cycle before us for the next coming year. So we will run as thin and as efficient as we possibly can, because all of the various departments around town have scaled back their budgets, and I believe we're being asked to do the same in terms of what our proposed budget was for the next fiscal year. So a lot of work to be done on the budget subcommittee, and we will report that information back after we meet. The policy subcommittee looks like had previously been busy. We had reviewed some policies last meeting. We had some first readings, so that tonight we have some second reading scheduled. The policy subcommittee member is Beano. Beano, would you like to lead this, or do you want me to lead this since I'm in person?
If you can't really hear me that well, would you mind doing it?
We can hear you just fine, but if you'd like me to.
Oh, great.
The technology's so good, we can hear you just fine. But if you'd like me to do it, that's totally fine as well.
Yeah, sorry, you said you couldn't hear me earlier, so I'd feel bad mumbling.
We fixed that, yeah.
Great. Yeah, so I think the policies that we had reviewed last time and approved for first reading, and so really we're just approving them for second reading, unless I misunderstood that. Is that right, Kelly?
That's right. That's correct.
So were there any questions about any of the policies? We did go through a little bit last time, and I know there were a few questions, but have any others emerged?
I haven't heard any.
I don't have any
Everybody
questions.
appears to be ready to move forward.
Great. I think I can make the motion then, or does
Yes, you
somebody
can.
else?
No, you
Okay.
can.
Okay, great. I'm just pulling it up. I would like to make a motion to accept for second reading the following modified policies: BEDH, BG, BHE, BIBA, and BJ.
Motion's been made by Beano,
I second.
seconded by Elaine. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Mark that as unanimous. All right, Beano.
Great. And then I would also motion to accept the second reading of the following policies as current: BEDF, BEDG, BGB, BIA, BID, and BK.
Motion made by Beano,
Second.
seconded by Elaine. No further discussion. All those in favor can indicate by saying aye. Aye. Mark that as unanimous as well. Thank you very much, Bino.
Thank you.
And we've got the Shaker Lane Building Committee updates. Stacy, anything to report there? Stacy and Kelly?
Do you want me to start? I can just.
You can start.
All right, so we had a meeting this past Tuesday, I believe, so we decided we had to come up with our designer selection committee for the designer and architects that we have to be interviewing, I believe, in March. So on that committee, we have Kelly and I are gonna be representing for the school. Then Chuck DeCoste, our select board member, Steve Benuti, Ryan Ferreira have all volunteered to be on that committee. So our next steps are to wait for OPM to, I think they do a selection process. We post the job out and then we have to review all of the different designer options that we have. I think we choose in March 27th.
Right.
March 26th, I think is the
26th.
deadline.
And then after that, we would submit, I can't remember if it's our top three, but we would also present which one we want. But the decision to go with a designer lies in the hands of the MS board. So we'll make a recommendation in terms of the designer we would like. Hopefully they will see it the way we do, but they do have the right to pick another designer for us.
And the
It's on the
designer
list we submit.
the designer is ultimately going to work off of the results of the feasibility study.
That's correct.
And do we pick a designer from a list that's already approved by the MSBA?
We send it out for,
So their request for services got released to MSBA today from our project manager firm, OPM firm. MSBA has to review that and approve that, and then that'll get advertised in, I don't remember the date, in 2 weeks. It'll go out on Central Register. So then it goes out to the community, and then the designers all submit proposals that their designer selection team will then call through and pick the 3 top candidates. That's kind of the process.
In terms of the feasibility study that gets performed, is that work done in a vacuum with the folks that we've gone ahead and hired, or do they work with the committee to learn about the specific needs of our community? Is there opportunity for public input? Is that process taking place?
that will be part of the process. Okay. First of all, we need to get to that point, but our expectation is that they hold community meetings.
Okay.
And meet with the staff, and really get an opportunity to understand our needs and what we're kind of looking for as a community as well. And the design should be based on that input. Obviously, cost has to be taken into account, but I mean, what we're not looking for, I don't want to speak on behalf of the building committee, but basically, we don't want to see a cookie cutter model. We want something that's going to meet our needs. So that's an interesting part of the process. Personally, I'm really excited to get to that stage because that's where you can start envisioning what's going to happen and getting closer to having something begin. We're still looking 5-6 years, Steve, where we will see it tangible. But it's an exciting time because, as we all know, schools remain static for many, many years. We want to make sure we get it right.
You're here. Anything else to report there?
No, that's it.
Perfect. Do we have an update from the CPAC?
We do. So there was a meeting last night, and there were several new faces, which is good because we're trying to grow our CPAC. So the topic of the presentation was the updated IEP. So going through what that looks like for students and for parents, for teachers. So explaining some of the major changes, and so that was presented by Lynn Snow and the Student Services Leadership Team. So they're trying to get another meeting on the books, maybe like a daytime coffee chat that might be at a better time for some parents. So TBD on that, we don't have a date on that one yet. But a big thank you to Lynn and her team for the great presentation last night. Great time.
Excellent. Great. There any other subcommittee reports or any other business, old business, new business for the committee? Hearing none, we do have a need for executive session this evening. Won't take too long. I'll schedule particular language, so I would move that we enter into executive session for the purposes of contract negotiation with no intent to return to open session. Motion has made and been seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And we have adjourned, and we will reconvene in executive session after we've been able to clear the room. Thank you, everyone.